Upon reviewing the comment thread to my most recent upload pertaining to the hypocrisy of the pro-black woman, I have received comments immediately after uploading that video from black women themselves having issue with the things that I state in that video. Now, black women disagreeing with what I state in videos is nothing new to me. It is something that I've been used to for a very long time now. As a matter of fact, people in general, not just black women, but black men, just people in general who come to my channel and have a disagreement with things that I state in my video is something that I've not only been used to for a long time now, but I've also developed a thick skin for. Now, to go ahead and reference something, I want to make it perfectly clear that in that video, I'm not talking about every pro-black woman. I'm talking about the ones who are hypocrites. I'm not talking about the pro-black woman who actually lives a lifestyle of pro-blackness, producing pro-black children. Her actions and her behavior exudes pro-blackness. In a relationship or marriage with a black man. See, my argument is excluded from these groups of women here. My argument in that video pertains to a class of women who are hypocrites, who are not true to the nature of what they stand for, or what they claim they stand for. And despite the fact of actually referencing the class of women that I'm addressing in that video, despite the fact that even mentioning names or the name particular to the one individual that I was referencing within that video, yet and still, it is black women themselves that will come to my comment thread and take issue to what I'm saying in that video. Now, just to be fair now, to the women who are relatively new to this channel, don't know much about this channel, who have been looking at this for 6 months, under a year, I'll somewhat give them a pass. But now, if you've been watching these videos for over 2 years now, then you are who I would classify as a seasoned veteran to this channel. And anybody who's been watching my channel knows that when I classify somebody as a seasoned veteran, this means you understand the territory that you're in. You already know what to expect. You know that I'm going to say some things that are going to offend you. You're aware of this. This is nothing new. And you also know that I'm also going to say some things that are going to as well offend black men. I don't hold any favorites here. I didn't get on YouTube looking to gain friends and gain approval from any particular group of people. I get on YouTube to say what I need to say and I get the hell off. I don't get on YouTube worrying about whether I'm going to offend somebody with what I say in these videos. Like I said before, I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to tell you what's going to be nice and catering to your feelings. I'm going to tell you what you need to know. It's that simple. That's the way that works. If you're a seasoned veteran, then you understand this. If you're a seasoned veteran, you furthermore understand that this is a double-edged sword here, meaning that the door swings both ways. At times, we're going to have something to say about black women, and at times, we're going to have something to say about black men. That's the way that works here. So when I get black women coming to the comment thread and they, oh, well, why are you only talking about black women? What I find funny and what can also be hypocritical amongst many of y'all is many of you are the same groups of women that when I'm going in on black men will come to the comment thread, thumbs up in the video, cheering on everything that I'm stating within that video. I mean, there was an example of this that took place back in 2017. You had, what was it, that Successful Ladies Live. The one who's the black man hater, who would find herself in the comment thread of my videos back in 2017. When I was talking about the failed patriarchy within black society, when I was talking about the lack of leadership amongst black men, this same woman was in my comment thread, thumbs up in these videos. Oh, you're spot on, brother. Everything you're saying is so true. Laughing and enjoying my impersonations of black male buffoonery. This is what she was enjoying. It was all good and dandy up until that door swung the other way. And I started calling out her hypocrisy. Now all of a sudden, see ladies, this is what they think of us. This is how all black men think of us, and this is why we need to swirl. Notice the hypocrisy right there within that statement. But at the end of the damn day, it's like this. The reason why I say this is because I want to let everybody know who comes to this channel. Don't get comfortable over here. Don't think that you found a friend when you come to this channel. Because the same way I might say some things that you agree spot on with. Will be the same way I turn around in the next video and that door swings the other way and hits you right in the ass on the way out. That's just the way that works. Now, as I've stated, to those who are relatively new to the channel, I'll give you a pass. But to those who've been watching these videos for over 2.5 years, 2 years, you're a seasoned veteran, so you should understand this. And you should know what to expect when you sit down and you watch one of these videos. Now, as I stated before, I don't have a problem if black women disagree with what I state in these videos. It's something that I'm very used to. It doesn't bother me. I allow it. I don't challenge it. It is what it is. But there was one comment in particular that stuck out to me. And the reason why I even reference and bring you down that long, drawn-out analogy that I just brought you down is for a reason. Because this woman comes to my comment thread and posts a comment asking me the question, are you an agent? Now, when we talk about somebody being an agent, what are we talking about? An agent of white supremacy. Now, this is a woman who is a seasoned veteran, okay? Who has watched my channel at least since late 2012, early 2013. So we're talking about 5-6 years now you've been watching these videos. So you should know good and damn well what to expect. But now to sit up and ask me the question if I am an agent of white supremacy, and I want to actually bring this back into something that I told y'all in the last video and that I've told black men in many videos, that you have to be very cautious with these women. Because in many cases, they will sit up here and try to chastise you. Okay? Calling you an agent of white supremacy because they simply disagree with what you're saying in the video. But if you were to ask them, what exactly do you disagree with, or where exactly am I wrong, they couldn't point out a single flaw. They just got a problem that you're the one saying it. But this is the same woman that would say this, and I find this equivalent to the pot calling the kettle black, and it's actually no different than if you take a rock and you throw it at a pack of dogs. Only a hit dog is going to holler, and this is another reason why you came forth to put forth this comment. Because you know the statements of what I made forth in that last video pertain directly to you. So before you can sit over here and ask me the question, and I really should go ahead and start mentioning names, but I ain't going to do that. So if you're going to come over here and ask a question about whether I'm an agent of white supremacy without a single shred of evidence, without a single bit of proof, and what is it that black women love to talk about? They have coined the term phrase, bringing receipts. What are receipts? Evidence. I could substantiate what I'm saying. I got my receipts, girl. Do you got yours? This is what they'll tell you. But far too often, I've had black women come to these channels. And the reason why I'm referencing that point right there in itself is because we know where that term came from. Many of y'all are the same who sit down and listen to the likes of a Kendall St. Charles, Brooklyn Blue, whatever she goes by, Crystal and Carrison. And we know this is the talking points that they use. So this also means that you're a seasoned veteran when it comes down to actually understanding, bringing proof to what you're talking about. So before you can come over here and talk about, am I an agent of white supremacy? Asking me such an asinine, such a ridiculous question, how quickly you forget that just a few years ago, you were the same individual sitting on YouTube making videos talking about why you should get you a white man. Praising white men, putting white men on pedestals, talking about how white men were the better providers, the better caretakers. I mean, these are videos that you had up just a few years ago. Now, some of you brothers might even know of this. Some of y'all actually checked this female in the comment thread of that video. And when I sit back and I listen to questions like that being presented to me, like I said, it's equivalent to the pot calling the kettle black. That you would have the audacity to come on to the comment thread and ask me a question like this, mind you now, while having videos praising white men. I mean, how does that make any goddamn sense? But once again, black men, this is what I've been warning y'all about for many years now. In many cases, you cannot trust these women. And before you start to take her serious for pro-blackness, you have to actually look at that resume. Since y'all want to talk about receipts, I'm going to tell you to do one better. Bring your fucking resume. What do I mean when I say your resume? Not your work resume, not your work experience. In certain cases, we might want to see that too. But for the sake of making this argument, we don't need that. When I say your resume, I'm talking about who you dated. Because in many cases, you got black women sitting online right now, making videos, preaching pro-blackness. Mind you now, while being married to white men, or having biracial babies with white men, having a dating preference for white men, or so they say. This is back in the day if you ask China Fox. But if you ask me, your dating preference don't just change. That is what it is. But these will be the same women who will sit online lecturing you Negroes about pro-blackness. Got a house full of biracial babies running around, but at the same time lecturing you about pro-blackness. I mean, are you serious? I give you no better than Irene Yvette. And yet a lot of you Negroes find yourselves having live streams with her, having her in your comment thread, praising her. But this is the same woman who sits in a house full of biracial babies. Now, some women might say, well, you know, at one point in time, there was a time when I was younger, I dated a white guy briefly. But the majority of guys that I've dated have been black men. You see, maybe under those circumstances, we can lay off of you just to an extent. If you show me a resume where you've had predominantly black men that you have dated, and maybe one or two white guys made their way in the mix, what you have shown me is that your preference is for black men. And maybe you just were curious to try out a white guy, or you just gave him a chance, or whatever the case may be. But your primary preference is for black men. But when I look at your resume, and your resume showcases predominantly white men and non-black men, or you don't even have black men in that resume at all, that lets me know that your preference are not black men. And when your preference are not black men, then you can't come to me saying, well, you know, I'm pro-black. There's just no way in hell I'm going to take you seriously. And this is what a lot of you brothers need to be looking for when y'all deal with these women who classify themselves as pro-blackness. That want to talk about black love, black excellence. Mind you now, while laid up with white men, while having a preference for white men. Because while she might get with your black ass, oh yeah, you best believe the minute a Brad or a Chad steps in the picture, guess what? Guess who she gonna be fucking and sucking? While we're on the topic of receipts and how you have this woman who made a reference asking me the question, am I an agent of white supremacy? Without a single shred of evidence to substantiate what they say. You know, in many cases, the reason why these women will say that they're out here dating interracially is because black men's dysfunction. It's your dysfunction to ask why we are out here dating interracially. It is your dysfunction to ask why we're uplifting and putting white men on pedestals. It is your dysfunction that causes us to act the way we do, because whenever you see black women acting foul and fucked up, there's a black man somewhere hidden in the bushes who's orchestrating this whole thing. This is what they'll tell you if you're gullible enough to believe that. No different than last year, how when the swirling campaign, you had Successful Ladies Live, and I've referenced this on several different occasions. And all of a sudden, she had her fallout with the girl who swirls. You had a black woman who made a video referencing me, stating that somehow I was directly involved with this. I was somehow being paid to cause dissension amongst the swirlers. Now, this is a swirler herself. This is somebody who listens to the lights of a crystalline kerosene. So you know her talking points, you know her rhetoric, you know the verbiage, you know she talks about bringing the receipts. And if you're listening to this on a regular basis, how is it that you can sit back and watch her and not even apply, not even remotely apply the very same reference points that she's giving you? Where are your receipts? And I've referenced this shit time and time again. These are the same women. This is the same woman who said I was being paid. Where's the PayPal link? Where's the GoFundMe link? Show a video that I've produced asking people to donate to me. I've never asked these questions. And once again, I'm not knocking anybody who does this, because that's your right. But I'm simply not one of them. So before you can get online and state somehow that this man is being paid to cause this sanction, let me first of all show where I've caused a sanction amongst the goddamn swirlers. I'm sorry, I don't do that shit. I'm an authentic person. So if I'm going to reference something, best believe if I'm referencing something that is actually taking place, I ain't had nothing to do with that shit, because it holds more validity. Likewise, when it comes down to the woman asking the question, are you an agent? Where's your proof of evidence? I mean, this is the same one who has videos putting white men on pedestals, who will turn around and ask me the question, are you an agent? An agent of what? So if I'm an agent for simply making this video, then what does that make you? This is what I want to know. But once again, like I told y'all, what many of these women do, they will sit here and they will use the dysfunction of black men as the reason why to justify their dysfunctional behavior. And so they'll sit up and say, well, you know what? If we can just get away from these black men, if we can get black men out of our spaces, and this is what they encourage other black women to do. Stop having sex with black men. Stop dealing with them. Stop giving them access to your rooms. Level up. This is what they tell one another. And one who's a staunch advocate for black women and black girls to simply stop dealing with black boys and men is none other than Crystal Swirls. Now, once again, these are groups of women who sit up here and utilize the dysfunction of black men as a means of justification for why they do what they do. Now, I want you to think about something, because this is according to her narrative and what she has produced out here. She has told the world that she used to live in Brooklyn, New York. Okay, those of y'all who haven't been out to Brooklyn, New York, I know what it's like out there. Who managed to win a settlement and move down to Florida. This is information that she has posted publicly on her channel. So you won a settlement, bought yourself a house in Florida, and now, mind you now, this is a quote-unquote divested woman. But when we look at what does it mean, once again, to be divested? And if you know anything about living in Florida, there's many people that I know who live in Florida who will tell you that the cost of living in Florida is dirt cheap. You can live out there relatively comfortable for a job that pays you, for an average job, pretty much. You can live relatively comfortable out there in Florida. So now, why is it that this woman, when winning a settlement, a large sum of money, you would figure if you're so divested and you want to get away from black men so much, that the first chance you get, you would move out of Blackistan. But no, that's not what you do. You go ahead and you buy yourself a house, smack dab in the middle of Blackistan. How do you explain this? How does a divested woman explain moving in a black community amongst other Negroes? Having a Negro taking her shopping because she can't go out and get her own damn things. Having Negroes sitting down on her couch in front of her biracial child conducting interviews. How do you explain this? And you're supposed to be a divested woman. How does that make any sense? Why? It can't make sense. Because you are the very same Blackistan that you claim that you have divested from. That is you, black woman. Now, I'm not talking about every single black woman that we come across. But I'm talking about these buffoons who get online and talk about pro-black women first. We're divesting, hashtag divesting. If we could just get black men out of our spaces, we're good. Okay, I'll give you some better examples if this is what you believe. Because now, mind you now, what they want to utilize is black men to their dysfunction. They have to find a means to justify it. So in order to find a means of justifying it, listen, if we could just get these black men out of our spaces, we're good. What you notice, they'll never do that. Even when they get money they can afford to actually get away from black men, they still move smack dab right amongst the community amongst black men. How do you explain this? Many of these are a group of women who talk about they are pro-black women first. Okay. All right, if you want to be pro-black women first, that's fine. But when you sit back and you listen to their activity, when you listen to their behavior and some of the vile things they state about one another, and here's the deal. A lot of black men and women had an issue with the things that I was stating years ago on YouTube about black people. They had a problem with my verbiage that I was using toward black women. And they really took issue with that. But the videos that I made back then actually pale in comparison compared to what you see black women saying about one another right now, within this day and age. The very same group of women who are pro-black women first, Divested, your black woman's fears, and the rest of these other damn buffoons who get on public live streams with one another, who dox one another, putting out each other's criminal records. This is what they do. Contacting each other's employers, getting one another fired from jobs. This is what they do. You had in a den of swirlers, one of these same women who are, I believe at one point in time, Crystal Carrison's supporters, literally sending flyers out to her damn neighbors. This is what they were doing. Now, what I'm trying to figure out is, where do you find black men in the midst of this? But according to the black woman's fear, if you listen to her, you see, no, it's black men behind this. Anytime you see black women engaging in black female fuckery, it's a black man behind it. Despite the fact that she has a video up encouraging black female fuckery. How do you explain this? Because once again, as I told you, brothers, these are the same groups of women who don't want to own up to their hypocrisy, who don't want to take blame for nothing that they have contributed to. They want to say that it's black men behind everything. That's the reason why they're doing what they do, despite the fact that there's no black patriarch. But yet somehow it is a creepy black man behind the bushes somewhere, hiding inside of the closet with a remote control, causing you females to go out here and act as dysfunctional as you're acting right now, for the eyes of the whole fucking world to see. Yeah, because it's black men's fault for why y'all do the shit y'all do right now. It's black men's fault for why y'all sit online going at each other's throats day in and day out, holding multiple 8-hour-long live streams. I mean, first of all, who the fuck has time for that shit? And the crazy part is, we're not talking about girls who are in high school. If this were the case, we could give that a pass and say, you know what, they'll grow out of that. We're not talking about young women who are in their early 20s. We are talking about dusty-ass females in their 40s with children who get on multiple live streams and go at each other's throats multiple times a week. Man, first of all, I barely have time to produce a video twice a fucking month. How the hell do y'all got time to sit on multiple 8-hour-long, 5-6-hour-long live streams in multiple times out of the damn week while having a family to raise at this? How do you got time for this, man? Seriously. And this is what y'all do on a consistent basis. And now we're seeing your hypocrisy for what it is, because this is a good thing. Because what this shows is the very same. What it does is it actually takes away their talking points. That it's black men behind everything that they do. Because even within spaces amongst one another, you see that they're still going at each other's throats. And I mean, let me just tell y'all something right now. One in particular with this black woman's fear. Many of you females who are cool with her are fucking stupid. You're idiots. You see, I've been sitting back watching this female for quite some time, and I'm watching how she bounces around from space to space to space. One minute she's cool with this one, the next minute she's cool with that one, and the next minute she's beefing with every goddamn body. How the fuck is that? Oh, I'm just trying to be cool with people. No, you're not. You're dysfunctional. You can't be trusted. You're a snake in the fucking grass. You're not pro-black woman first. So when some of y'all are running around saying that she could be an advocate for black women, no, the hell she can't. She's a dysfunctional individual. She's fucked up in the goddamn head. This is why she sits her black ass online arguing back and forth with people that she don't even fucking know. Who the hell does this shit, man? You got fucking children to raise. Sitting around arguing with a bunch of damn strangers. That's some of the dumbest fucking shit I've ever seen in my entire damn life. But yet, one minute you females are cool with her. Then the next minute you beefing with her. Then the next minute y'all cool again. Then the next minute y'all doxing each other. I mean, what the fuck is wrong with y'all? And don't y'all understand simple concepts? Then once there's too much shit on the plate, listen, it's time to scrap that motherfucker. There ain't nothing else you can do with it. It's kind of like if you got a car and it's in a terrible car wreck, you get rid of the motherfucker. You don't fucking try to refurbish something that has been totaled. You don't do that shit, man. What the hell is wrong with y'all? And many of y'all, that shit's going to completely fly over y'all damn head. because you don't know what I'm talking about. What am I saying? It's pretty damn simple. When a friendship has gone so far left, has gone too far sour, it's time to scrap it. There's too much shit on this plate. There's too many things that have been done that cannot be undone. We cannot have a friendship again. It's kind of like if you have a bad breakup with an ex, you don't get back with them. You move the hell on. Because there's always going to be that level of resentment. You just don't put yourself in a situation like that. But yet, this is what you black women continue to do on a regular basis. Being cool with a snake in the grass. I mean, I sat back and I listened to a live stream about a week ago where this same individual was going in on another woman, calling her a murderer. Now, listen, I don't know the details of this. I don't care. Like I said, I can't sit down and listen to the shit on me but so damn long. But when somebody goes online to say shit like that about me, there's nothing more to talk about. It's done for. Likewise with some of you brothers when y'all come along, and I'm going to reference something that took place back in 2015. And some of you brothers have come to me leaving me messages saying, hey man, I hope you and Tommy can squash the beef. I hope y'all can let bygones be bygones. Now there are certain circumstances, and when I say Tommy, I'm talking about Sotomayor. There are a certain set of circumstances when you can let bygones be bygones. If we simply have an argument and have over a simple disagreement, yes, we can let bygones be bygones. That's not a big issue. You know what? Let's handle it different next time. I mean, as a matter of fact, I'm cool with some people that I done got into fist fights with. You know what? Let's sit down and talk this shit out. Let's let bygones be bygones. It was a petty disagreement. Emotions ran high. We didn't think this shit through. Let's let bygones be bygones. And that shit is done for. So there's a lot that I can look past. However, when somebody intentionally tries to hurt me, tries to slander me, tries to put me out there to make shame of me, I'm sorry. We can't let bygones be bygones because these are conscious actions of what you're engaging in. You have shown the world and you have shown me that, listen, you don't give a damn. Like I said, if you merely have a disagreement, that's one thing. And I'm going to go ahead and briefly reference what took place back then. This whole thing took place over a birthday shout out. Now, if he said, you know what, I feel some kind of way that you didn't give me a birthday shout out and I just don't want to talk to you. I want to back off of you for a little while. You know what? Cool. And had he come to me and said, you know what, that's kind of petty. Let's squash this. We can let bygones be bygones. Absolutely. We could settle this in a different manner. Absolutely. If it was a matter of even him deciding that, first of all, you shouldn't go public with something like that in the first place, but he did. And not that I'm saying that you can't, but let's just say if you were going to address this, if he simply stuck to the facts and told people, that brother, people were putting together a birthday collage for me, and somebody asked him to make a 15-second video giving me a shout out and he refused to, and I feel some kind of way about that. So, I don't talk to that brother no more. Had he done that, once again, we could let bygones be bygones. We could put that in the past. And what many of y'all fail to realize is that the same man actually apologized to me a year later. I didn't even recognize the number because I deleted the number at the time. So I asked, who was this? He said, this is Tommy Sotomayor. I said, all right, I acknowledge it. But that's it. This is as far as I can go. I acknowledge your apology. But I can never accept that apology. Why? Because there's too much shit on that fucking plate. This is why things can never go back to the way they were. Because instead of handling that the way you should have, which should have been to pick up the phone and call my black ass and have a civil conversation whether we agree or whether we agree to disagree or completely disagree and say, you know what, let's just leave it at that. What he decided to do was get online and publicly slander me, making up stories and lies about me. And had I not had those emails, had I not had the proof of evidence to substantiate what I was saying, because many of you Negroes who sat back and listened to what he was saying, and after I told y'all, give me about a week and I'll address this shit, many of y'all still had came to me saying, oh man, you just a jealous dude, man. I'm disappointed in you. Many of you Negroes hadn't even given me a chance to state my case yet before you had already made a preconceived judgment about me. Not based off of the truth of what actually happened, but based off of the lies of what he was putting out there. And I'm sorry, the minute somebody does that shit to me, we cannot let bygones be bygones. The only thing we can do is scrap this fucking plate. That bridge is burnt, done for. Off to the next one. That's how that works. Why am I referencing this? Because the minute you think like that, somebody said, well, that's kind of harsh. That's fucked up. You can't hold grudges. No, it's not a matter of holding grudges. But once you understand the nature of people, when somebody deliberately does something to hurt you, that is not a fucking mistake. If you do something accidentally, if you accidentally run over my foot when you're driving your car, you didn't see my toe there, and you ran over my toe. Oh shit, I'm pissed off. Maybe I'll be crippled for the rest of my goddamn life. But it was an accident. I could forgive you for that. If I loan your black ass some money, and you tell me, okay, I'm gonna pay you back in 2 weeks, and a whole month go by before you pay me back. Listen, dog, some shit that came up. I just don't have it right now. I'm working on it. I can let bygones be bygones. Why? Because this is an accident. This is something you had no control over. This is not done intentionally. So I can forgive that. But when somebody does something intentionally to slander me, to put me down, dox me, whatever the case may be, listen, man, there's no coming back from that. I'm sorry. And the reason why I don't give second chances when it comes down to this, because you did it once, you'll do it again. The only difference is you'll be smart about how you do it again. If you realize the first time that I had your card pulled, when you pulled that bullshit the first time, the next time you'll just be a little bit more clever with it. Maybe I won't have the means to back up what I need to prove my case the next go round. So no, we cannot let bygones be bygones. Likewise, what am I saying with this whole black woman's fear? Many of y'all are the same groups of women, and I'm going off of what y'all say now about her, that she's the same one who is doxing information about you. Put your public records out, or personal records out here. And yet at the same time, many of y'all are still cool with her. As if she wouldn't turn around and do that shit again, but just next time be a little bit more clever the way she does it. If what y'all are saying is true. So now when I see a bunch of you dysfunctional ass black women sitting online, befriending snakes in the grass, individuals that you should not trust, it lets me know that you can't turn around and pin this shit on black men now. You don't get to use black men as your goddamn scapegoat. Because clearly we see when black men are not present, here y'all still are going back and forth with each other. And for those of y'all who claim that y'all are quote unquote divested, this is another thing that lets you know that many of them are full of fucking shit. Because if you're divested, the one thing you're not going to do is find yourselves going over to these panels arguing with these men that you don't like. Why are you on an Obsidian's panel if you disagree with what he's saying? Why are you on an Angry Man channel? I mean, this is what many of y'all do. If y'all are so divested, if all we need is just to get away from these black guys and we're okay. But yet, every chance you get, you are still continuing to bring your black dysfunctional ass onto these panels to argue with the very same groups of men that you claim are the source of your problems. Make sense of the shit for me, please. No different than when you have black women who talk about black men sexually exploiting black women. These are arguments that have made claims to for years now. They talked about the music videos back in the 80s and 90s, how black men were sexually exploiting black women. Essentially trying to say that we were forcing them in these videos to get half naked, shaking their ass, gyrating for the whole damn world to see, oh, see, that's black men's fault, right? Okay, if that's what you want to say. These are the same groups of women who had a problem with that video that Nelly produced years ago. I think it was back 2003, 2004, tip drill. It must be your ass because it ain't your face. I need a tip drill. Oh, he's exploiting black women. But yet, many of you same women who are talking this bullshit were the same ones watching that video when they had BET Uncut late at nights. Watching the way those girls were twerking around and shaking their ass, practicing the damn moves. Many of y'all are the same ones who are doing this bullshit. But yet claim now to have a problem with them. Likewise, many of y'all who run around talking about R. Kelly, he's a sexual predator, but we're going out purchasing this goddamn music after videos went out of him having sex with underage girls. How do you explain this shit? Unless you're a fucking hypocrite. This is the only way it makes any damn sense. So this is what black women run around stating. That it's black men's fault for why they are dysfunctional the way they are. Black men are sexually exploiting us. And now, at this part of the video, there might be some pictures that I might have circulating. I don't know, depending on how inspired I feel to do this, or I might just simply be too goddamn lazy. But when you have black women who want to boycott movies like Straight Outta Compton, Crystal and Carson, who made a video talking about boycott this movie because it's detrimental to the image of black women, it's black men's fault. They're exploiting us. They're sexually exploiting us, putting us out there. This is what they say. Is that anytime you see a black woman out here gyrating around half naked, that is black men out here exploiting them. But if that's the case, and I won't even concede that point because it makes no damn sense. It's retarded. Because no one is forcing these women to go out here and do what they're doing. There's no black men holding guns to the back of these women's heads, forcing them to go out here and get butt naked and get in these music videos, shaking their ass cheeks. No one's doing this. But if this is the point that you want to bring forth and the argument that you want to use, then how do you explain the black mother twerking at her son's high school graduation? Because it was black men involved with that one, right? Yeah. If that's the case, how do you explain websites like Instagram? You go to Instagram right now, you're going to find black women strutting around showing their bare butt cheeks for the whole damn world to see. Because you know Instagram will allow bare ass to be shown. You just can't show any nipples. But you can show bare ass now. And you got black women all over the goddamn place doing this bullshit. I mean, I should start leaving images up of what I'm saying, but I don't want to get my video flagged. How do you explain that? How do you explain these booty models who create these channels, gyrating around, shaking their ass? I mean, how do you explain grown black women who are mothers and in certain cases producing pictures where they're dressed in these skimpy little outfits in front of their fucking children? How do you explain this? Because somehow this is black men behind us. We're the ones behind us, the puppet masters behind the goddamn string. I want y'all to think about that long and hard. Because this is what black women are saying. How do you explain black women walking around, gyrating butt-ass naked, oily thighs, strutting and making it shake, making it clap? How do you explain this shit, man? Seriously. Because somehow there's some creepy black man behind a washing machine, behind a fucking refrigerator or a countertop with a remote control making you do the stupid shit you're doing right now. Having your black asses on tropical islands with oil all over your butt cheeks, strutting around with oily thighs. This is what y'all are doing. But yet at the same time, y'all will turn around and blame this on black men. Because why? They have to use black men as the scapegoat. Because as long as we can use black men as the scapegoat, we're off the hook. We're home sweet home. We can now throw stones and hide our hands. This is also another reason why last year when the swirling campaign, when they done had a fallout, you had this black woman going out accusing me, stating that I had something directly to do with this. You had Successful Ladies Live trying to say I was in cahoots with another female to cause this sanction without having a single shred of evidence. Because the two of us were in the same damn comment thread. I mean, are you fucking serious? Well, let me rephrase that. Not even in the same comment thread, but under the comment section of the same video. Make sense out of this. But I'll tell you why these women will run around using these talking points. Because they have to now deviate away from their dysfunction. If they can somehow find some way to pin this on black men and blame this on black men, they're home sweet home. You see, this is not my fault. It's the fault of these black men. This is why, we're out here doing what we're doing. They have to find a means to be able to justify their dysfunction, despite the fact that when they're on panels by themselves, amongst other women, these are the same groups of women who will go at each other's throats in some of the most vile ways that you have ever seen in your life. Now, y'all can say what y'all want to say about my verbiage that I used a couple of years ago. I ain't never dropped docs on nobody. I ain't never contact nobody's employer. I don't do that shit. I have not put out or produced no information on my YouTube channel that it was not already on a YouTube panel to be used to begin with. Now, when you have these black women who run around like the Black Women's Sphere, referring to saying, well, black men are the reason why we do what we do, yet at the same time would contradict herself while saying that black women are doing so much better than black men, we're leapfrogging over them, we're making all this money, we're striving. This is what she says. So how the fuck does a group of powerless men, according to your narrative now, somehow have control over a group of women who are doing so much who are so much more financially better off than black men? Make sense out of that shit. But once again, none of this is going to make any sense. These are all phony talking points that they use, and as long as they can use black men as a scapegoat to their dysfunction, that's exactly what they'll do. This is also another reason why you have many of these black women who have a problem with what I stated in these videos. They have no problem what I'm getting on black men, on the other hand. However, when I start saying what I say about black women, all of a sudden, Oh, see, now you're an agent. Why? Because they got to find some way to hide their dysfunction. And as long as they can turn around and use black men as a scapegoat, they're home sweet home. Like I said, they want to talk about sexual exploitation of black women back in the 90s with all the hip hop videos and whatnot. But now look at black women all over social media. Look at them on Instagram. Pages that they created. That they're producing their own shit. This is what they're doing. Ain't black men forced them to do a goddamn thing. This is what they want to showcase. So this right here, there are so many different things that debunk these talking points. It's not even funny. But like I told you, black men, once again, be very cautious of these women that you allow into your panels and into your spaces. Because you can't trust them worth a damn. And the very same ones who claim they are about pro-blackness, lecturing many of you about pro-blackness, are the very same ones who are involved with interracial relationships. And once again, they will turn around and use this dysfunction, or use your dysfunction, to the reason as of why they are out here doing what they do. And with that being said, that's all I got to say in this video. And I'll catch you on the flip side.